If you've lived all your life in a prison, how would you know that you are a prisoner?
What a beautiful island. Every sign screams danger, but we don't feel any fear. Why is this happening? What is this feeling? Well, we're just heeding the call of the sea. Call of the Sea is a 2020 adventure exploration game developed by Out of the Blue Studios that takes place on a remote island in the 1930s. The game has us take control of Nora Everhart on a quest to find her missing husband Harry on an eerie island in the South Pacific where there are many clues to follow to determine where Harry has ended up. There are various different puzzles to solve during our scavenger hunt, some frustratingly convoluted and some fun to figure out. Well, let's not delay any further and let's heed the call of the sea. Really quick, this video will contain spoilers on the plot of the game. You have been warned. Also, if you enjoy the video, please be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Thank you. Let's talk about the gameplay, shall we? Well, the game is essentially a walking simulator with some puzzles. There's no combat, and that's alright with me. I love these explore and find clue type games to uncover the full picture of the story. We control Nora Everhart, who, might I add, has some fantastic narrating throughout the game. Great job to the voice actor, as she traverses different areas to solve the mystery of her husband's disappearance. Essentially, we start each chapter in an area that will contain a few central puzzles, and then a whole lot of lore tidbits for your journal if you're interested in uncovering more of what the game has to offer. There are also little Easter eggs in the form of secret objects that are extremely well hidden. I highly recommend scouring and exploring the landscapes for the lore because hey, the game is all about the story, and you're really shorting yourself by not learning more about the characters in the world. The island is a mystery, and the whole point is to uncover what in the world is going on here, so make sure to search for all the clues you can. As for the aforementioned puzzles, they typically involve examining a specific element throughout the world, such as tikis or constellations, to understand the necessary pieces to solve a central puzzle. We have a journal for easy reference so you don't have to travel back and forth, which is a nice bonus. Some of these puzzles are unnecessarily convoluted though. Specifically, the one that annoyed me was the organ puzzle, where instead of using the 3 correct symbols that match what our notebook is telling us, the symbols actually represent a different symbol, and it's like, why? Why give us the option to select the symbols we're told are right just for them to represent a different symbol? Doesn't make any sense. Anyways, aside from our standard walking and running, later in the game we can transform into a fish-like human and traverse the underwater where we can swim around and solve more puzzles. Confused? Good. That means I better not delay, and I'll talk about the story now.
How much would be left of the man I love? And how much of the man who has lost his sanity in this place?
The story begins with our protagonist Nora on a ship headed to a remote island, a bit confused about why she received a package from Tahiti with a ceremonial dagger, instructing us to go here to find our missing husband. Nora has an illness that is related to these strange black spots on her arm that her husband Harry desperately has been seeking a cure for. We ride a small lifeboat to the island where we're told we'll be picked up in 3 days' time by the captain. Immediately something is off about the island. There are weird stakes preventing entry and a bunch of abandoned camps and huts. Well, after following some clues relating to our missing husband and his expedition crew, we find a secret compartment housing a piece to a strange, alien technology-esque elevator leading to an excavation site. Here we find a strange well that when descended causes Nora to hear many whispers and see strange visions of humanoid beasts bleeding black ooze from their eyes. Okay, this is getting creepy. Either we're on a strange mushroom trip or something is up here. After a little more investigation, we learn some more about Harry's expedition crew. It consisted of reporter Cassandra, mechanic Frank, Dr. DeWitt, Playboy stuntman Roy, and local guard Teahara. I hope I pronounced that right. We find Roy's grave and learn Roy has died from a dynamite explosion gone wrong, and Dr. DeWitt has become infected by the black ooze. Shortly after a few more puzzles, we are drowned in the same black ooze and have a strange vision of a giant fishman monster watching us from the sea, where Nora is then transformed into a fish-human hybrid herself. That's right, this is an H.P. Lovecraft story, and we were looking at Father Dagon. Nora wakes up next to a massive crashed ship that has been absolutely shredded, presumably by our Lovecraft friend. This was the expedition team's ship, and as a result we have a lot of camps to investigate where our narrative progresses. Dr. DeWitt has gone insane from the black ooze and stabbed mechanic Frank, poor guy, which resulted in the crew tying DeWitt up, but he's long gone now. After solving that frustrating organ puzzle, we venture to the temple at the peak of the island where the crew had used homemade speakers to replicate the organ's sound. We learn here that Frank sadly had succumbed to his stab wound, bringing the expedition crew down to 3. Side note, there's a journal entry here that details despite Frank's expert engineering skills, I mean, he built all of this. He was declined from university for being black in the 1930s, and I just think that makes me feel for his character even more. Such a talented crew member that's life was cut short too soon. Nora restores power to the speakers only to be knocked out and wakes up on a dried ocean floor filled with absolutely terrifying skeletons. Here, Nora has visions about her illness and remembers her music box, where by singing the notes from the music box in the real world, she's able to open the temple and enter. Here we learn Nora is actually not sick, but is undergoing a transformation of sorts. That explains why her symptoms seem to decline as she ventured further in the island. She is now able to transform into her fish human form in the real world by traveling through strange gates, which lead us to an old village to give us some more backstory. We learn these hybrids were originally slaves, forced to transform by their masters as some sort of ritual servitude to the Lovecraft gods, and Harry intends to undergo this transformation so he can be with Nora forever, as these hybrids are also immortal. Harry seems to be going insane, and not just because he wants to do some scary hybrid transformation that causes their guide to abandon them, but because him and reporter Cassandra have seemingly grown to despise each other from paranoia. At this point though, Nora's illness is essentially gone, and she states she feels more alive than ever. Well, we finally journey into the ritual throne room where we see a mutated corpse with Harry's glasses. No, we were too late. What a tragic end to this love story. Nah, I'm just kidding, they wouldn't end it so plainly.
What really happened? The only person with you in that sanctuary beach was Cassandra. So if you didn't die, it had to be her. Did she use the dagger to open the gates and carry out the ritual? You tried to stop her, but it was too late. She shot you with your own gun and left you for dead, didn't she, Harry?
Well, it turns out Cassandra really wanted that immortality and was driven mad to uncover the island's secrets, which resulted in her shooting Harry and dying as she tried to transform. I didn't really understand this part on why some people were able to transform. They were saying it doesn't work for some people, but it wasn't really explained to my knowledge. I mean, don't worry, I'm not losing sleep over being unable to be an immortal enslaved fish monster, but if you're sad about that, I'm sorry. I think maybe the slaves were forced to transform and died in the process, while the masters were actually just the fish-human hybrids, but that could also be incorrect, so I'm sorry if I'm butchering this, but let me know what you think in the comments. Well, Harry, being the super genius he is, had already deduced the ritual would not work and set the whole plot up. He had sent the package from Tahiti and guided us here. Why would he send his sick wife to a dangerous eldritch horror island? Well, if you haven't figured it out yet, this is Nora's heritage and who she is. Harry faked his death and sent the package in order to lead Nora here to complete the transformation, because if she doesn't, she will die a slow and painful death. Gosh, that's heavy, and I really don't see a happy ending here. It's either forget about Harry and be a fish monster enslaved to Dagon for all eternity, or go home and be with Harry but be doomed to die young. And of course the game presents us with a choice here to shape our ending. If Nora chooses to abandon Harry, she journeys to an underwater city that is pretty beautiful, but she loses the man she loves so much. Also, I think she's enslaved to Dagon, and I've been running with that, but maybe I'm wrong and it's actually not a bad life down here, so maybe there is a positive outlook in this ending. Either way, the closing sequence leaves us with some sad words about the state of Harry if she never returns, and the ending just feels sad.
I lied to you for the first and last time. And even if it was to free you from pain, suffering, and death, I deceived you.
But I've paid such a high price for my deceit, Nora. Fate has punished me with a long and sorrowful life, with no other incentive than my work.
Because that is the only thing I have now. My dear old pal.
Well, maybe the alternative is better, right? Right? Okay, no, it's not. Nora returns to Harry, and we get one of the best credit sequences I've ever seen in gaming, where Nora and Harry perform a beautiful song. I mean, this is top tier here. However, the song is interrupted by Nora's coughing, and we learn she did not live for very long, and her last days were very painful. Both endings lead to the game closing with a short word from Harry, who is now the Dean of Archaeology at a university, wondering if he made the right choice by lying to Nora. Either sad she has passed, or sad he never saw her again.
In real life, true love stories don't end with a wedding. They end with a funeral. And the only thing that eases that final moment of heartbreaking sadness are all the good memories lived together.
Okay, that was heavy. Normally I'd make a joke here to lighten the mood, but that line hits super hard. Damn. Okay, so let's dive a little deeper, no pun intended. If you're into Lovecraft at all, which I'll admit I've never delved much into aside from a few video games here and there, then you know about Innsmouth, which is essentially a village of cultists that worship Dagon and Cthulhu, and are mostly composed of these fish-human hybrids. There are many references to the story of Dagon throughout the game, such as him gripping a large monolith, which actually happens in the story, and it seems this island might be a reference to Innsmouth, or at least somewhere near it. Typically the residents of Innsmouth are dangerous to outsiders, but being that Nora is already one of them, they welcome her to the island and we face no threat throughout the game, unlike our friends on the expedition team. So essentially the basis for this game is the story of Dagon and his followers, but what does that mean for Nora? Why is she infected? Well, it appears Nora is a descendant of a long line of hybrids, particularly the Marsh family, which is also mentioned in Lovecraft's works. So Nora seemingly was infected since birth, doomed to her fate of transforming or death by refusal. How tragic. Alongside the Lovecraft themes, I think most obviously the theme of love is powerful in this story. We see the lengths both Harry and in turn Nora are willing to go to extend their time together, and the haunting line about love stories ending with a funeral is just so powerful. Harry risked everything on this expedition in hopes of curing Nora so he wouldn't have to live without her, only for Nora to do the same and then have the option to give up an immortal, never-ending life to be with Harry for just a little longer. Something about that is so beautiful and really makes you want to believe in the power of love and how much it can impact your life, despite the endings being sad. I think their real-world applicability is a much more positive outlook on life that can provide joy and hope for all of our futures. I think this creates an absolutely beautiful contrast that I can't say I'm familiar with. While the setting is horror and the outcome can be bleak, the character motives and actions are positive and beautiful. While Nora should be sad, she can either accept her fate and live forever in outstanding health, or believe that some people are worth dying for and live out her days with her dear old pal. How beautiful is that? Thought-provoking and powerful. This game definitely left an impact on me.
In the end, it didn't matter. You returned home and forgave my deception. We moved close to the sea and had a few more good years, didn't we? Until you left me at one sunny March morning. I wish I could be reunited with you. But fate has punished me with a long and sorrowful life, with no other incentive than my work, because that is the only thing I have now, my dear old pal.
Call of the Sea is ultimately a love story with a tragic ending decision that will leave you scratching your head on the best decision. The game is filled with beautiful scenery and attention to detail. I'm not sure if you noticed, but the ending decision even darkens the picture of Nora and Harry when facing the abandon Harry option and brightens it when facing the return home option. What an incredible attention to detail. This game is truly one of a kind in that it takes place in a horror setting, but it's not actually a horror game. The player is provided with all the right elements to terrify and stress them, yet for some reason they feel joy and curiosity, much like our protagonist. It's not easy for a game to create a feeling of being the main character, but Call of the Sea does this wonderfully and provides an enriching story and powerful message that hopefully will follow you into your real life. While the game has its flaws, looking at you, Organ Puzzle, man, I really hated that puzzle. I can't stop raging about it. The game is a beautiful experience that creates a lasting impression. Hopefully you don't receive a call to the sea, but if you do, at least you might be a little better prepared. Thanks for watching.
Sweetheart, may God bless you.
Honey, are you all right?
I'm fine, Harry, don't worry. I can keep going.
No, listen, let's leave it for today. You shouldn't make any unnecessary efforts.
Really, darling, I'm fine.
You need to rest, Nora. Come on, I'll take you to bed.
If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Also, check out some of the other videos on the channel here if you want to see more content like this. Thanks again for watching. Until next time.